there's a light in the western sky, sometimes in the southwest, sometimes in the northwest, mainly in the west, and it's getting brighter. And it's always there, all the time, every night. The first light in the sky before it gets dark. And it's like a star with wings with the naked eye. It's the brightest light, a star with wings. Have you seen it? And people will go, oh, that's just Venus. Venus is shining brightly. Well, none of the pictures on the internet are even real. They're a lie. The amateur pictures all just look like dots of light. That's all you can see from down here through the atmosphere is a dot of light. This zodiac fish guy's onto it. You see, all of a sudden it changes. It starts looking like a planet. Now maybe if this guy could just zoom into Alpha Centauri, and while you're at it, point it at the Mars rover to see if it's dusty. Watch. You see the lines coming in a second and it change. There you go. Look. But I'm not picking on one particular guy's channel. I'm saying this is the situation for everybody's perception around the world. You've all been fooled. It's a fake. It's not Venus, and neither is it Jupiter. Your perception of this object in the sky is completely false, and the ideas you already believe blind you to this truth, so that even when you look directly at it, you don't understand. You do not look past what you've been told is real. Except what if they're lying to you? That's Venus. The entire world says so. Okay. That's Venus, is it? If everything you believe is false and you've been fooled, do you want to know? I'm going to show you that your whole perception of reality is false. That you've had the wool pulled over your eyes in this great big cosmic joke by my father. To punish you and to teach you. To show you a greater truth. This light in the sky that they say is Venus. Look at it, it's so bright. It looks a bit like this. Like it's got wings on it, to either side. The brightest light in the sky. Now, think about the solar system. Think about the sun at the centre. And then the first planet is Mercury, which has the smallest orbit, which lies completely inside the orbit of Venus, the second planet. And Venus, its orbit, lies inside Earth's, the third. Earth has a moon, which is a satellite tied to the Earth, so its orbit is similar to the Earth's. And then you have a small planet called Mars, and then Jupiter, and its orbit never comes inside of Earth's. And then you have Saturn. And that's where we're going to stop for now, because Saturn is miles out, around the outside. So these concentric rings of orbit. And Venus is a second planet and has a small one inside of Earth's, which is the third planet. So if you was to stand on the Earth, with the sun behind you, so you're on the dark side of the Earth, early evening or night time, and you're looking past the moon and you can see Jupiter. Well, Venus' orbit sits inside closer to the Earth, nearer to the sun, which is at your back, on the other side of the Earth. So you're able to stand on the Earth and see a beautiful conjunction of Jupiter, the Moon and Venus. Now really think about that. This light in the sky, brighter than any others, there for most of the night, has an orbit close to the sun. But the sun is behind you. And you can see it. Even when Jupiter's not there, you can see Venus on that side. You can see Jupiter sometimes, and you can see Venus in conjunction while you stood on the dark side of the Earth and the sun is behind the Earth. And the planets aren't always in a straight line, but even if you stretch out the angles, Venus' orbit is much tighter and nearer the sun. So it doesn't fit that Venus will be in the night sky on the dark side of the Earth all night long, all the time. How does Venus get over there? Just think about that. You see, you've been blinded. You live in a world that's false. Your whole perception of space is false. Science that, Neil, you tosspot. That's where he's going. So what if I told you next that space is actually full of water? Water, full of life. And that people in the past knew this truth and always had done. The firmament sat above, and above that sat water. And you don't believe all that old-fashioned nonsense what them stupid people used to believe, you know. They've been to the moon. Is it made of cheese? Ha ha ha. No.
Life has been discovered in space, but experts aren't sure how the microscopic marine plankton got onto the outside of the International Space Station. Researchers from Russia found the life forms during an analysis of samples taken from the exterior of the space station. Plankton can be found in various places across our planet. Recent findings indicate that they have been able to survive and develop without oxygen in the harsh environment of space with extreme temperatures, zero gravity, and cosmic radiation. Vladimir Solovyev, the head of the Russian International Space Station orbital mission, is quoted as saying, "The results of the experiment are absolutely unique. We have found traces of sea plankton and microscopic particles on the illuminator surface. These kinds of organisms are not normally found in Baikonur, Kazakhstan, where the space station was launched from. Uplifting air currents might have brought the plankton to the International Space Station from the ocean. Or they could be caused by contamination from other spacecrafts that have visited during the nearly 6,000 days the space station has been orbiting Earth."
What do you call a plankton bloom up in space? Think about it. The coloration, phosphorescent green reacting with the sun's energy in whatever form you believe, whether it's current or whether it's a solar wind. As above, so below. You see the water's above, and there's an electromagnetic barrier. You'll have to trust me on that for now. I'll show you in a bit. And it holds it up there. And there's thin air in between. Just like on the surface of the ocean, the phosphorescent green reaction to the sun's energy, space was full of water. Upside down, there's another surface. On the surface of that water, the interaction between the energy and the thin air of the atmosphere where the space station and the satellites lie, as high as we can get. As above, so below. So scientists find a giant wave rolling through the Perseus cluster. Researchers say this wave formed billions of years ago after a small galaxy cluster grazed Perseus and caused its vast supply of gas to slosh around in the enormous volume of space, which is supposedly a vacuum, by the way. Perseus is one of the most massive nearby clusters, the brightest in X-rays, so the data provided is unparalleled in detail, they say. The wave we've identified is associated with a flyby of a smaller cluster, which shows that the merger activity that produces giant structures is still ongoing. So it's all moving, and the gas is in liquid form, as it is throughout space. So ask Google what happens to liquid in a vacuum, and water poured into space would rapidly vaporize or boil away, because there's no air pressure. You have to compress gases to turn them into liquid. So how can a big whirlpool of liquid gas with waves in it, fluid, exists in space, which is a vacuum. Because in a vacuum, liquids have this annoying habit of when you turn that knob to vacuum, they turn into gas. Stick that in your spout, Neil. Now, a brine pool under the sea, separation under pressure of liquids of different density. Think about that.
When filming Blue Planet beneath the Gulf of Mexico, American documentary filmmaker Mike DeGruy found an underwater lake. Mike and his crew tried to descend into the lake, but upon making contact, the team reported the liquid was so dense their submarine bounced off the surface. Mike is quoted as saying the following: "I noticed something out in the distance, but I couldn't tell what it was. It looked like a dark band. As we got closer to it, I noticed the black band had steam over it, but there was water flapping against the shore. This band was a ring of mussels. Inside the ring of mussels was a lake. We went out over the water and tried to descend it and bounced off it."
So if space was a vacuum, liquid should become gas. But if space was full of water, liquid gas would have its own gravity, and a cloud of gas vapour would become a liquid ball because there's no up and down in space. Gravity is dependent on mass, so the mass of the gas would make it liquid under the pressure of the water, and if you hit it, it would spin. But the gravity and the immense water pressure would hold it together, and it'd look exactly like this big mystery that they can't answer. They can't answer it. Go and look it up. Pretty fucking obvious to me, because I've been told from above. Welcome to the hidden truth. You've been locked in a box your entire life by an advanced civilization led by L with technology you can't even imagine. A great big cosmic joke played on you, and you've not got much time left. Go and look at that light in the sky and watch it closely. Observe it. As it approaches Earth, it does some strange things. It's arriving in the month of Nisan 2026, the end of the tribulation. And then it's all going to happen. Every coastal city is going to be gone. And while we're talking about water, let's talk about the water in space. What is dark matter? They offer a Nobel Prize if you can tell what it is.
What looks like empty space, is it really empty, or is there something hiding behind our plain sight? In the year 1933, the Swiss-American astronomer Fritz Zwicky was observing the Coma galaxy cluster. He found that the total mass of the stars in the cluster provided only 1% of the mass needed to keep the galaxies gravitationally bound to the cluster. So where does the remaining 99% of the mass come from? This question remained unanswered for decades. However, in the 1970s, other astronomers confirmed the existence of a type of matter which doesn't interact with electromagnetic fields. That is light. That's why we can't see it. It was called dark matter. It has a predominant presence in the universe. Approximately 85% of the total universe is composed of dark matter, and it greatly influences the behavior of galaxies and space.
What is the equation of dark matter? In the Poplarski model, the equation of state of dark matter is assumed that of an ideal fluid. Do you understand? A fluid. Dark matter in spiral galaxies. This is how they figured it out. I ain't going to explain that, but basically it's a calculation to account for fluid in space. Dark matter and dark energy. If fluid has energy in it, it's always moving. Has it clicked for you yet? NASA have always put all their space maths through a fucking equation that says space is full of water just to make all their observations fit the bullshit fantasy they're feeding you, because you can see everything. Space-time ripples in a vortex and gravitational waves in space are just waves in water, enclosed in a vast space on a different time scale, on a time-space scale. So to our perception, at our limited scale and short lives, then a black hole is just like The convection between hot and cold liquid masses causing circulation, but on the macro scale, both in its giant mass and the length of time. An underwater whirlpool produced by a hot current hitting a cold current and creating a vortex that also happens in the air, where it's not anchored by gravity. It acts like the water in space in a way. Hot and cold air masses meet at different speeds and different heights, and they cause circulation, a storm. This happens quickly in the atmosphere, over days or hours. But in the vastness of space, at those great scales, the immense pressure of all the water, imagine this. A group of stars are clustered, heating an area of water in space. And then across the empty void, the cold water. And over time, creates a vortex, a wormhole, of cold fluid passing through the centre faster. A tunnel in space. On the micro and on the macro scale, the laws are always the same. On Earth it becomes a whirlpool, hot and cold current mixing. In space, vast mass waters would create a vortex, a black hole to our perception. Looking like it's moving slowly or very slowly, or not at all. But on that massive scale, it's all about perception of scale. One plane of existence and dimensions of scale. So what is a star? Maybe it's a fish. Lol. No, seriously, it's a fish. He's hundreds of trillions of years old. He's an electromagnetic space whale that looks like a coelacanth. His head is as big as a moon. He puts the darkness energy to the outside of his body, and the light energy he focuses inside. And he controls immense electromagnetic forces, and he sings and vibrates energy and can do things that you can't even imagine.
Hi folks, Astronomy Live here. A month ago I created this video identifying the bright planet in the southwest sky after sunset as the planet Venus. I performed astrometry of its coordinates and compared it to calculations based on the orbit of Venus as published back in the 19th century. The video has gone viral and currently has over 63,000 views and is still climbing despite the fact that it was uploaded a month ago. That's quite a lot more than most of my videos get, and likewise, a live webcast that I did last week of Venus through the telescope has over 11,000 views and is climbing, and that's quite a lot more than most of my live webcasts get as well. So a lot of people are interested in this subject, and a lot of people wish to identify this object, and the most common question that I get in response to these videos asks why it is so bright. People don't remember it ever being this bright. They think there might be something abnormal about it, or that it might not really be Venus, because they don't ever recall seeing it this bright before. So in this video I'm going to address the brightness of Venus, and we're going to find out whether or not it's brighter than it has been in the past, and whether it's really as bright as it should be.
A lot of clouds out there right now. What you may notice is a little big bright dot in the sky. That is not just a dot. That is a planet. Let's check in with meteorologist Amanda Holly to tell us what that big bright dot is.
That is actually a planet, not a star here, and it's the brightest thing in the eastern half of the sky, so you really can't miss it in the hours just before sunrise here. And we're up here on the 4th floor of our WFLA studios, and we can see it really clearly it's just starting to rise above the downtown building. So you can actually see Venus here through 30 minutes after sunrise because it's so bright. About 30 minutes after that, the brightness starts to dim because the sun continues to get brighter and brighter. But you'll be able to see this for the next several mornings. In fact, it's going to get even brighter.
Think about dimensions of scale. Like a dust mite with a short lifespan. It travels short distances. And it doesn't really know the world outside a small area of the carpet where it lives. It has no concept of the sofa, if it ever reached it, or the dog upon the sofa. It just lives its life in its environment that it's made to live in, knowing what it needs to know. And a human hair is a bridge. A piece of lint is a bed. And it doesn't really worry. It just gets on with living, and it can't. If it could break out of its small scale and get somewhere else, it couldn't understand its environment. It's too large. It just lives this small little life in this short, quick lifespan. Have you ever tried to swat a fly and wondered how it can move so quickly away from you? Time is faster for them. But we're like insects, buzzing around in our world, all busy with the tasks we need to do to get by and survive. We don't look up at the sky and question. We don't look past the lights that dim the stars. We're just all too busy doing what we need to do to survive in our environment that is built to our scale and our understanding. But there's something much larger. You come from an eternal existence by our standards, as a being of energy that can travel vast distances. And you're living like bugs in comparison. You are now to what you once were, both in lifespan and knowledge, like this dust mite is to one of us, in the flesh here, in this place in between. And think if a dust mite got to the sofa, wouldn't know what to do with a dog. The dog doesn't know how to get the door open to go for a walk. And this person just doesn't even look at anything past the TV and what she's told, eating processed food. Dimensions of scale, ever increasing or decreasing. Your perception is limited by the one that you're trapped inside. I need you to really, really think. Because there's only one plane of existence. And the other dimensions are inaccessible, only in the way of the distances involved in the time scales. Micro and macro. And you have been locked in a box.
Kay, he's back! The light giver! All hail Kay! All hail Kay! Oh, Kay, can you see by the dawn's early...
You are the man who would be king of the train locker.
And so he punishes you all and teaches you at the same time, and it's fucking hilarious. And he's been swimming towards us for 10,000 years. He's larger in a larger environment. So, at our size and our timescales, at that distance, he would appear stationary, slowly getting closer. Dimensions of scale, space, time.
All hail Jay! All hail Jay!
I brought him over from Grand Central Terminal.
Why you put them rats in my locker, man?
I thought it would put things in perspective for you.
No, Kate, it's actually kind of sad, man. Really, we need to let them out of there. I mean, they need to know the world is bigger than that.
Still a rookie.
If you can break through the false perceptions that have been implanted in you and everybody else, you'll find, hey y'all, that you're a tiny part of something much, much bigger that you've got no chance of understanding. You have a satanic elite that hide this secret, who have all the money and the technology, and then they're getting help.
Sorry.
Is your perception limited to what you're told, to what you're shown, what you're fed? Are you allowing yourself to be locked in a box by the ideas you already think are true? Or are you going to look a bit deeper? Hell is ancient. It's both light and dark. The flesh is full of a dark energy on the outside, and it hides him. And the light in his mouth, the energy of life, the light, that's how he feeds. He swims along with his light in his mouth, and anything that's stupid enough to come towards the light gets eaten. He's a fish, savage. The sea of space is a dark and nasty place, and he's tamed it. But the consciousness that we've all got comes from him. And it's he who's arranged all of this and locked us in a tiny little environment, sealed off from the larger environment, on these minuscule lifespans with limited knowledge, not understanding. And to him, it seems like he would be eternal. Heaven is an eternal existence. It's all about the timescales. So he brings you into being as a being of light, and you can travel the entire universe faster than him who's stuck in his body. He's gave you that gift. The way I talk to you now is the way he communicates with me. That intelligence, that spark. So if a cosmic fish big enough to block out the stars or turn night into day by just opening his mouth is swimming to Earth, what would his breath smell like? Seriously. Think about it.
Scientists say there may be signs of life on Venus. It exists in tiny molecules in the atmosphere. Researchers don't know how it got there or what it means, but it's drawing new attention to Earth's nearest planetary neighbor. As Holly Williams reports, it's a world that couldn't be more different.
Its surface is hot enough to melt lead, and it's cloaked in clouds of toxic gas. But scientists now believe something could be alive on Venus, or actually just above it. Professor Sarah Seeger, along with a team of international scientists, spotted a molecule called phosphine in the planet's atmosphere using giant telescopes.
Finding phosphine, it really leaves us with two equally crazy ideas. One is that there is some unknown chemistry. And the other one is that there's some possibility there might be some kind of life producing phosphine on Venus.
On Earth, phosphine is produced by bacteria and sometimes smells like rotting fish. An unromantic discovery on the planet named after the Roman goddess of love. A molecule called phosphine in the planet's atmosphere using giant telescopes.
So you were brought into being in the sea of space, in the ammonia and phosphine-filled mouth of a fish. You're on Earth, observing that with a telescope. But it wouldn't look like he was moving like this. You'd just see a light in the sea of space. And it wouldn't look like he was moving that fast either. Dimensions of scale. For him, a 10,000-year swim by our standards is just a short swim. Using impossible forces we don't understand, he dragged all this matter together and created this world we live in, as he shaped many worlds over billions and billions of years by our standards, and seeded them with life and nurtured it over hundreds of millions of years, done by a culture that's measured by the universe and timescales of hundreds of trillions of years. It's all about dimensions of scale, what we can't imagine. Well, he's getting closer, and you wonder how he can do these things he does from a distance. Well, he's got help. I've told you, an advanced civilization. He is connected to all the things he's made by what Newton called spooky action. He can manipulate energy with vibrations, and one atom makes another atom react. So it doesn't matter where you are. He can get a hold of you, send you dreams, send you ideas, influence you, ride alongside you. The Elohim have a little of the ancient knowledge remaining, but they cannot replicate the technology or the devices or even the true understanding of the things that they mess with. And they put it in cartoons. But the sounds and the mathematics, the Fibonacci sequence, all of these things match. Carbon atoms, the building blocks of our universe, of our bodies, have 6 carbons in a hexagon shape. The most common shape in nature.
Come on, let's go to ancient Greece, to the time of Pythagoras, the master egghead of them all.
Pythagoras?
The father of mathematics and music.
Mathematics and music?
Ah, you'll find mathematics in the darndest places. Watch. First, we'll need a string. Stretch it good and tight, plunk it. Now divide in half. Plunk again. You see? It's the same tone, 1 octave higher. Now divide the next section. And the next. Pythagoras discovered the octave had a ratio of 2 to 1. With simple fractions, he got this. And from this harmony in numbers developed the musical scale of today.
By golly, you do find mathematics in the darndest places.
You can imagine how excited Pythagoras was when he shared his findings with his pals, a fraternity of eggheads, known as the Pythagoreans. They used to meet in secret to discuss their mathematical discoveries. Only members were allowed to attend. They had a secret emblem, the pentagram. Let's see what the topic is for today.
What's going on?
It's a jam session.
Pythagoras, boy, put it down. Well, I'll be a postmodern fan.
How can an electromagnetic space whale who looks like a coelacanth with a head the size of a moon possibly create anything? He's a fish. He holds a light in his mouth, the electromagnetic energy, the same energy that made you, and he vibrates this energy and he molds it and directs it.
Boy, Venus is really putting off some light these days.
He sang you into being. He imprinted you with his consciousness and set your energy vibrating eternally. The secrets of the universe. His breath is life. Focusing immense energy and sound to manipulate everything in this universe. L controls immense electromagnetic forces of both polarities, and he can direct these forces upon all matter using energy, magnetism and vibration. His breath, or his song, made us all. He sang our solar system into being, using these immense forces, but it wasn't in 6 days, on our scale. Using sound and energy, electromagnetic force and vibration, and a knowledge of every different material and all the forces of the universe. Sound and energy, passing through water by means of things we can't understand, like spooky action, which Newton named hundreds of years ago. Because atoms resonate, all of them. Every atom in existence has its own frequency, its own vibration. And if you could get down to the atomic scale, if you could do an Ant-Man, you'd see that every single atom is separate and vibrating at its frequency of the material that it currently is. But if you vibrate it, then you can change the qualities of that atom, its properties. And this is known. Now he has this immense knowledge, and using spooky action and vibration and things we can't possibly understand, he can send you a dream or an idea or ride along in your body, because he made that body, and your DNA is connected to him as his light and dark energy that he's a master of, naturally master of. And it's the basis of all the other technologies that exist up in heaven that they're using now to blind all of you until now. Energy and vibration.
What do you make of it?
It appears to be a probe, Captain. From an intelligence unknown to us.
Starfleet Command, this is Saratoga. Can you hear me? Come in, please.
In Star Trek, a giant alien probe comes into our solar system, immensely powerful with electromagnetic radiation, singing a song, frequency, sound energy, which damages everything it comes across. It's that powerful. What's it after?
All emergency systems are non-functional. Engage reserve power. Aye, sir. Starfleet Command, this is Space Dock on emergency channel. We have lost all internal power.
This immensely powerful alien probe has a white ball in front of it, and its sound it's emitting is destroying the world. The electromagnetic vibrations it's emitting. And what's it trying to do? Well, when they figure it out, what saves the world in the end? Good old Jim Kirk went back in time and fetched a whale to sing back to the probe. Where do you think all these ideas in science fiction come from? They're not geniuses, these evil bastards who rule us and keep us entertained to keep us blind. It's all a great big deception to make you think a certain way, that there's no water in space. So you're all thinking, how does a fish make the world? But he picks a spot with the right materials and he starts cooking with sound and energy. Electromagnetic vibrations, baby. I'm telling you. And these technologies exist already, all around us, hidden. Introducing the firmament. A powerful electromagnetic field.
They were just like everyone else. They dreamed of going to the stars. But unlike everyone else,
What's going on here?
they discovered a way to get there.
You dreamt it, I built it, and it's our secret. It's pretty neat, huh?
An ancient knowledge of energy and vibration from a civilization older than you can perceive, who use the whole universe as their measure of scale. In time and knowledge.
Do you realize what it means?
Everybody wonders how Machu Picchu was made. How 1,000-ton blocks were lifted at Baalbek. Ancient technology before the flood built the foundation. And the biggest crane in the world couldn't move this block 1 inch. And with all our tools, we couldn't cut and lift these blocks. This technology was taken away from those without authority after the flood, and they tried desperately to attain it again. Yet they cannot build a temple to Baal with those megaliths the ancients used. They used tiny little blocks. The later builders of Baalbek after the deluge couldn't reproduce the megalithic stone blocks of the base that they built upon. We have the mystery of the pyramids of Giza, 250 million tons of rock moved to Gunung Padang.
I went over there with an ultra-wide camera lens, and that's the only way to get the full capture of many of these stones, but yet it distorts. It doesn't show you just how big they are. So one of the things I like to do is have somebody stand next to it and then take the photo, because then you can actually
I saw
appreciate.
pictures of you next to it, and you're about 5'10". Is that what you're?
I try to say it all the time. I'm 5'10", so people could just an average size guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah, look at this. That is a 125-ton stone.
Well, look at these images, man. These stones. What's fascinating to me is how they're uneven, but yet they're perfectly fit into place. I mean, but what I mean by uneven is they're a bunch of different shapes. For the people that are just listening, if you go to the bright_insight Instagram page, there's plenty of images that Jimmy has up here. But these stones are much, much taller than him. They're immense, and they're these weird shapes, but yet they fit into each other perfectly. But what's crazy also is they're smooth in some places where they it's almost like artistic, right? Yeah. Like the way they jumbled them all together, but perfectly fit them.
If you can control electromagnetic energy, then you can levitate rock when you know its frequency. You can mold it and shape it, move it. 250 million tons of rock excavated from inaccessible mountain tops, pre-deluge, over 20,000 years ago, to build this ancient pyramid.
Melting ice caps flooded the region and turned it into the series of islands it is today.
The compelling suggestion is that there was some sort of civilization here before this flood took place, that they built this with advanced technology, and therefore they were extraterrestrial visitors to the Earth. And that's why archaeologists are not finding the evidence that we would normally expect to see, showing a geometric progression of technology leading up to the ability to build a gigantic pyramid well over 12,000 years ago.
Everyone in heaven is laughing. waiting to see your faces when a big fish turns up. You see, I know what he's going to do. A new sun will dawn, because he's going to close his mouth in 2 years, in the darkness sneak up, and in the month of Nisan 2026, he's going to dawn from the west. It'll be that bright you won't be able to see the sun in the east. And at this point, if you can't see the truth and you're done forever, it doesn't matter when you get killed, there's a cut-off point. All the coastal cities will be destroyed first. All the lights are going to go out. The world will be thrown into chaos and darkness. And it's only going to get worse until this point. We're going through it now. The stars in the sky will disappear, just like it's prophesied. 2 years, Venus will close his mouth, and Venus is going to disappear in 2 years' time. And then his body, clothed in the dark energy, is going to swim up to Earth in darkness. And in Nisan 2026, a new sun will dawn in the west, and by the next day, every coastline gone everywhere, just the way I said in earlier videos. He'll then swim in front of the sun and throw the world into night for 3 days, to fulfill the prophecies about the sun from the west and the 3 days of darkness and the stars disappearing from the sky. That's how it all is going to happen. I've got a lot more to tell you soon. It seems I've passed tests and been given knowledge, and so has the other witness. And he's on his path too. And he's been given knowledge. Coming soon to a sky near you. L.